Hey guys, welcome to On My Shelf. Today I'm talking about two heartfelt memoirs that will make you feel every emotion humanly possible. The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls is sort of a classic in the memoir genre. It's highly regarded on every list of best memoirs to read. I had never read it myself, but once I did, I understood completely why it's there. This story was incredibly heartbreaking. Walls and her brother and sisters grew up devastatingly poor and were the children of neglectful parents. They didn't really know any of that at the time, not until they were older, but they had hints of it in their childhood. What stood out most about this, and about the book in general, was that Walls told the truth about her parents' inability to care for her and her siblings, but she did it all in love. No matter how awful the situation was, she approached it with grace. This is the power of writing a memoir years removed from the experience. Rex and Rosemary Walls moved their children around, always chasing the next unlikely dream that Rex had in his heart. Rosemary often left the kids to themselves while she painted, chasing her own unlikely dream. Sometimes the family didn't have anything to eat but butter, because neither parent worked. Rex was a brilliant man with a brilliant imagination, and he mostly made life fun when he wasn't drunk. Rosemary could not bear the responsibility of providing for her family, and because Rex was always chasing his next big dream, they didn't often have money for anything. But they were also too proud to get government help. It was a very tragic situation for the children. At times, this book was so very sad, because while you felt angry at the parents for not really taking responsibility the way they should have, it was also obvious how much they loved their children, especially Rex. Walls has a poetic style of writing that made this story that much more enjoyable. I was never once bored because she has such a gift for capturing a moment and creating three-dimensional characters that you couldn't help but love them, even while you hated them. It was excruciating to read about the poverty they lived through with such parents. I was poor as a child, but it was not that poor. What I liked most about this book is that Walls also showed how she and her siblings escaped the toxic situation with her parents. They broke free of their parents' grip, which raised the question, would they have been so persistent and determined if they hadn't lived through these circumstances? It's impossible to tell. Here's one of my favorite quotes from The Glass Castle, which showcases the poverty Walls lived in. "We called the kitchen the loose juice room, because on the rare occasions that we had paid the electricity bill and had power, we'd get a wicked electric shock if we touched any damp or metallic surface in the room. The first time I got zapped, it knocked my breath out and left me twitching on the floor. We quickly learned that whenever we ventured into the kitchen, we needed to wrap our hands in the driest socks or rags we could find. If we got a shock, we'd announce it to everyone else, sort of like giving a weather report. 'Big jolt from touching the stove today,' we'd say. 'Wear extra rags.'" The second memoir I recently finished was A Mother's Reckoning, Living in the Aftermath of Tragedy by Sue Klebold. If you don't recognize this name, Klebold is the mother of Columbine shooter Dylan Klebold. The Columbine shooting was the most violent school shooting in the history of our country and happened on April 20th, 1999 in Littleton, Colorado. This book was only recently published, and it's been on my list for a while. This is the first time Klebold has broken her silence about her son, at least in written form, and this book was a beautiful offering to the public. I truly cannot say enough about it. In A Mother's Reckoning, Klebold takes readers by the hand and walks them through what life was like with Dylan. It might surprise you to know that he was a mostly regular kid. He didn't get in much trouble, didn't cause much trouble, didn't require much in the way of discipline and redirection. In the days after the Columbine shooting, there were a lot of reports about Klebold and her husband, how they'd been terrible parents, how Dylan must have been abused because that's the only reason someone would want to go on a killing spree, how this could never happen to good parents. But Klebold's book proves that this could happen to any of us. The Klebolds were a family that sat around a dinner table and talked about their days. I do this every day with my family. They supported each other in their school and work functions. My family does this too. They loved each other. Of course, every family does. Klebold had no idea, until after the tragedy, that her son was severely depressed. So her book is mostly an entreaty for parents to look hard for the signs of depression, to pay attention, to find the places where our children are hurting and try to heal them with professional help if need be. A Mother's Reckoning was a love poem, a memoir, a valuable offering to a public that has wondered about what went wrong in the homes of Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris. She shares candidly and honestly, and nothing she writes is without grace and honor and love. She does not make excuses for her son, but she writes so that she can raise awareness about brain health disorders and equip parents to recognize it, accept it, and do something about it. This is a book I think every parent should read. I hope you enjoyed these book recommendations. Be sure to visit racheltolson.com to see some of my best book recommendations and to get a free book from my own starter library. If you have any books you recently read that you think I'd enjoy, leave them in the comments and I'll add them to my list. For more on my shelf, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.